If this is your first time subdividing, I recommend staying in your backyard. You'll learn, you can get boots on the ground, you can build relationships, you can go to the county. Oh, it needs to go through the board. You can show up to that board meeting.
Personally, if I'm doing this, I'm going to send an offer for about 65 to 70% of market, maybe 60 to 70% of market value.
For these bigger deals, I wouldn't necessarily say you're going to close in 10 days unless you have the funds already lined up. This is a little bit different because now you need $250,000 or $180,000. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today's topic, we're talking about the 7 steps to making $100,000 of profit off of a subdivide. I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined again by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. Ron, this has been probably the thing we've talked about most over the last 12 months, just looking, subdivide, right? Because we've made so much money off subdivides. It's a similar process. It's easier to acquire deals. There's so many things with subdivisions that just make it such an amazing business model. We're talking about minor subdivisions here, though.
Yeah, it's your knowledge of land doesn't have to be too crazy. Like a big subdivide or a decent-sized minor subdivide could be your third land deal. Like you don't have to do 20 land deals. You don't have to do anything crazy before you do your first. Some people's first deal is a minor subdivide where they break 10 acres into 3-acre parcels.
Who's funding that one?
So the attainability of these type of deals, I think, is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to walk through all the 7 steps that we have written out right here in the process to actually, like, we talk about it a lot, but let's talk about how to actually do it.
I don't think we've ever done the steps, though, like this, which I like a lot.
No, yeah, we're just talking about the business model. And this is going to be step-by-step type of blueprint.
Yeah.
I think. And we're going to have more modules and things coming out soon on the whole subdivide course, maybe 3, 4, 5 modules talking through all the different things, how to target this stuff in real time. But for the sake of this, Ron, let's hop right into it. As you choose any niche, any way to invest in real estate, the first thing you need to do in general is choose a market. Mm-hmm. So by this, we mean you need to actually find an area, county selection, zip code selection, whatever market you're selecting, and you got to find an area to do this in.
Really, guys, I don't think we need to spend too much time on this one. The biggest thing with this is making sure if you are targeting specifically like subdivisions, you need to understand the regulations in the county, the rules. Maybe on the land portal you go and you don't go in any cities, you know what I mean? Where you exclude inside the cities, whether you draw a polygon or whatever. But choosing a market, when you're choosing a market for subdividing, you need to understand when you go in before you pull the data, what are the regulations? Can I subdivide anyway, or can you not go under 5 acres? Like, what do those look like? You want to stay in the minor subdivision regulation, though.
If this is your first time subdividing, I recommend staying in your backyard. If you can go within 1 to 2 hours of where you're at now and actually guys, these are $200,000 profit deals. We say $100,000. That's on the low side of some of these subdivisions, what you're going to make.
Yeah, I mean, if you buy for $100,000, you should sell for $250 plus on these. Like one of our that we closed recently was buy for $130, sell for $360, and we split into 7 parcels. It wasn't anything crazy. So yeah,
and we bought it for a lot of money.
We bought for $130, yeah.
No, but I'm saying a lot of money, market value compared.
Oh yeah, like compared to market value, we paid a lot. So there's so much potential in these deals. I think you need to. You definitely being close to yourself might be good with relationships, everything
you'll
like that.
You'll learn, you can get boots on the ground, you can build relationships, you can go to the county. Oh, it needs to go through the board on October 3rd to get approval. You can show up to that board meeting. Mm-hmm. Say, what's going on, guys? I'm here for the subdivide. They're going to approve it when you're there. If you're not there, if you're remote, they're like, hey, some guy's clocking in from California. We're in Pennsylvania. Who knows? But like I think doing it, and also just I wouldn't normally say this if it was a $15,000 profit deal. But this is such a high value thing. It's not a bad idea. Guys, you get 5 of these a year, you're going to be making $1 million.
That's the craziest thing about this, like, is the potential for just having a project at once, like doing 1-2 projects at a time.
Putting everything you have into it, raising money, doing all your things.
And the coolest thing about it, which we can get into, but I want to stay on these steps for sure. The coolest thing about it on the back end is it doesn't take time like some other projects. It's not like building a house. Like it's a subdivide. You're just getting a survey and then selling it.
A lot less headaches than building a house.
But step one, choosing a location. Make sure you understand minor subdivision regulations. Dan likes doing it in the backyard. 3 things as far as what?
Regulations. What are the 3 questions you ask the county?
So you want to ask the county, what is the minimum amount of acres I can survey into? what is the amount of parcels I can split it into. So maybe they say anything over 5 splits is considered a major subdivision. And then the other thing, I really like to ask like how much road frontage. Honestly, I think that's more important than the next thing. So it's kind of 4. How much road frontage do you need for each parcel? And then finally,
if any.
And then finally is how much are there any restrictions that are added? We had a county in particular, which is not that common, where if we could subdivide as much as we wanted, we could go to 3, 4 acres, whatever. But they said if you subdivide anything under 10 acres, you're not going to be allowed to put a mobile home. They were kind of being infiltrated with a bunch of mobile homes, and they wanted to kind of stop them on those tiny little 1-acre parcels, and that's why they added that regulation. That was a new regulation there.
So you have 2 options if that happens. You can subdivide it into smaller lots, 5 acres, and then if someone wants a mobile home, you just sell them 2 of them for the same price as 10. And then for the people who want 5 acres and they're building a house, you give them the 5 acres. So that's what I would have done going back, just from what I've learned. Okay, so we have that. We have, hope that's clear. That's step 1, choosing an area, looking at the regulations, all that. It's very rare they're going to say there are 0 regulations. A lot of times it needs approval. Yeah, it needs approval. A lot of times they'll say. The extent of that approval, you need to dive in and try to figure that out.
We've never gone through approval, though. We have never once gone through approval. We asked them, how can I subdivide this land with only a survey, essentially, like where all I need is a survey.
Yeah. And I'm curious, guys, dive in, because most counties will say you need some sort of approval from what I'm hearing back with feedback in a lot of these areas. And the approval is very minimal. A lot of times someone just needs to sign something. So you got to get in contact with that person who needs to sign and figure out, hey, is there anything you haven't signed, and for what reason? Is there any reason if this comes to your desk you won't sign and approve this? So you just got to really dig in before doing that. So next step, we have the area. You got to pool your data. Step number 2, right? Choose an area 1. Step 2 is pooling data. And with this, you need to decide what acreage you want to go at. You know, do I want 20 plus acres, 20 to 100, 20 to 40, 50 to 200, whatever the acreage is. So you got to find out the acreage, and you got to put in all your filters. You got to put in your location. The good thing is, guys, on the landportal.com, you can remove wetlands. You can remove floodplains. You can now remove, coming soon, contour high sloped areas, not based on some stupid data that's telling you the average percentage of slope. It's going to tell you clusters, how many flat area. It's going to be much more complex and better and easier to understand than just the average. But you'll be able to remove bad properties, and you can already do that, because with subdivisions, if you have 100 acres and you're chopping it up, how much of that 100 acres might be underwater? We don't want those properties. What if half of it's wet? Then you just can't subdivide. You know what I mean? So we really want to use the right filters in place on the website.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too much into like, this is what you plug in, exactly this is what you plug in. But as far as like, you want to make sure you have a sufficient amount of road frontage. I like over 1,000 feet, but you can go lower for sure. And you can map them out on the land portal. You can see what they look like and make little adjustments based on it. Different areas are different for sure. Getting rid of properties with high wetlands is very valuable. But the main thing for your data is have a good amount of road frontage. Some of them aren't going to fit perfectly. Like, you cannot try to make this list absolutely perfect, where everything is just a perfect subdivide.
No.
Some you might have to be creative. And then you want a road frontage on there. Those are the 2 most important things.
Road frontage is the most important.
But acreage too, like having a decent amount of acreage.
Yeah, and they need to correlate.
Yeah.
You can't have 100 acres and then put 400 feet of road frontage. You're not going to get a survey out of that.
Yeah.
Subdivide out of that. They need to correlate efficiently, especially to have a good amount of road frontage. You just slice it up. You can get creative with them. You can put in roads, dirt roads. I mean, you can just have like these projects, guys, I want you to keep an open mind, because there's so much profit in them. You can put money into them. If you need a road going through the middle that costs $25,000, you'll see that money right back if you do it right. You don't want to do it when you don't need to, but $25,000 in for a road where you're splitting off the sides, it's a nice road with gravel going through. That stuff makes sense.
Yeah.
When you're doing these projects. So keep an open mind with how you go about it.
You see those like dirt road cul-de-sacs in some of these rural counties. Like, that's what they were at one point.
Yeah.
Was a 20-acre parcel that got cut up in the middle, and then they split it off into 4 or 5 acre parcels.
Do we talk about MLS here? Because it is pooling data. We can just mention that maybe on market.
Yeah, we can.
So our last podcast we recorded, we talked about MLS attacking on the market data. That's another source you can get for pooling your list. Since you're putting improvements into it, you can look at what's on Zillow in the MLS, what has a lot of road frontage, and what's good land to where you can buy it at 80%, offer them, buy it, and close. You can, subdivides can work on the MLS data. Would I 100% focus on that? No, but on the back end, you'll no doubt in my mind get deals from that.
Keeping an eye out, I think.
Keep an eye out for MLS deals in that area.
What's number 3? Marketing, right?
Number 3 is marketing.
So we pulled our data.
We chose the area.
Yep.
Pulled our data using wetlands on the landportal.com, all that, road frontage. Marketing is where you actually take that data, send out text, send out mail, whatever strategies you end up using. Subdivides are unique though because you can offer so much, so you want to get creative here too.
Yeah, I mean, you decide how you're going to reach out. Like the marketing step, again, I'm not going to get exact into how to do this. We want to get more into the steps of doing this. Like you need to reach out to landowners on that list that you pulled. How do you want to do that? You can do that by offering 60%. You can do that via mail. You can do that by sending a cold text. You can do that by sending a neutral letter. There's no perfect way to do this. For me, personally, if I'm doing this, I'm going to send an offer for about 65 to 70% of market, maybe 60 to 70% of market value, where they're motivated to sell. We have some kind of room as far as we're not at market value. Some of these you might be able to negotiate up. They might be able to negotiate you up to 80%. It makes sense for everyone. But that would be my suggestion. But there's a ton of other ways as well.
Yeah, I would do that. And then I'd do follow-up texting with that because that's going to get the conversation started. You have an offer already. You offered for 70% of market value, 65%. Your offer's ready to go. And then they call or they don't see that mail. They text you. It gets you on the phone. You tell them your offer. You negotiate a little bit. It gets the conversation started. But yeah, like you said, I don't want to get in the weeds too much here. Marketing's marketing. It's about reaching out to landowners and starting the negotiation process and finding and locating the motivated sellers. That's what it's all about.
And that's number 4, negotiation.
Yeah, what are we on now? So we had choose an area, 1, pooling data 2, marketing 3. Now we're 4, negotiation and the actual project planning. So this is where the money is made. There are not many people in this business who don't take negotiating and sales seriously who make $1 million.
Yep.
You make 150, 200, but to make $1 million, you got to be aggressive and you got to make things happen. That person calls you back. You offered 55%. They want a lot more. Can you negotiate and get that deal closed? And that's about getting it under contract for the price that makes sense based on your market value after your improvements, which is the subdivide.
Yeah, I think we're saying this as step 4 together. The first step, like when you get leads coming in, obviously you want to have a conversation with them first, but you want to analyze what you can do with the land. I think like the project planning.
After gauging their interest.
Yeah, after you gauge their interest. You're not necessarily coming up, like if they want to sell at 60%, get that thing under contract. Don't rush, do not okay, let me see what I can do and do all this.
Don't post on Discord and wait 48 hours.
For sure. Get them under contract. But if there's negotiation going back and forth, you want to plan the project. Like what can I do with this piece of land? Now you have a specific piece of land. It's not like we're pulling bulk data. You have 40 acres with 1,200 feet of road frontage. How many parcels can I get out of this? Are they going to be able to sell? Again, going back to your regulations that you learned in step 1, what can you do with this where it's a minor subdivision? So that's like that project planning, that property. Like now you have an actual property to analyze and plan.
Yeah, so you get a 40-acre lot back.
You're not calling a surveyor at this point.
You're not calling a surveyor at this point. You get a 40-acre lot. You know the restrictions. Okay, 40 acres. What can I do here? They told me I can't subdivide it under 5 acres. So, I can get 8 acres out of this. Now I pull it up on a map. And I know the seller's very interested. I had a conversation with them. And I can get 8 out of this. We got 3,500 feet of road frontage. I don't need to put a road in. I don't need any improvements. I can just slice this up 8 times because the county said I can. Look at what 5 acres is in that area. Know your projected sale cost a little roughly. Always be conservative. Go at 80% of whatever you think it's going to sell at 450. Make it 380 in your head. So now you can go up to whatever price makes sense for 380, 100, 150, 180 grand, whatever that is. So you work backwards a little bit, knowing the restrictions. Vice versa, you got 40 acres coming in. Okay, it's only got 1,000 feet of road frontage. How am I going to make this? Okay, I'm going to need a flag-shaped lot behind this one. We need to subdivide it here a little bit, maybe some smaller parcels in the front, put a road back to get to the further ones, something like that. This is going to cost me 30, 35 grand to do. All right, I have my acquisition cost plus 35 and the time and effort. So you want to plan it like that, like financially, because then I go back to the seller. If I'm in negotiation, I don't have the PA, and I know I can get 380 out of it. We got to find a way to close this. I can offer 100% now. Or I can only offer 50 because it's so much hassle and work, and there's not much I can do.
Yeah, and you're not. I think the biggest step to that project planning, that analysis step, is like, okay, what is the range of how much money I'm going to get out of this property on the back end, and then also kind of how much time, but more so, how much am I going to get out of this? Is like, if you can project market value, that's the hardest thing when you're targeting subdivides. It's like, you don't really know what the market value is when you're sending mail out. So that's why we just do 60, 70% of market value there. But now you have a piece of land in front of you. You can subdivide X amount of times, and like, I can get 180% of what I thought market value was, whatever it is. So that's that key to that step. But going from there, Dan, step 5 is we get under contract, right?
Yeah. So then you're calling the person back based on that knowledge from your project planning and negotiating and getting under contract. So you're calling, you come up with a solution that fits both of you guys. It's a win-win. You're getting them 85%. They're happy. They're getting their money soon. And you're getting under contract. For these bigger deals, keep an open mind with how you attack them. I wouldn't necessarily say you're going to close in 10 days unless you have the funds already lined up. This is a little bit different because now you need $250,000 or $180,000. It's going to take more. You have more planning and prep, and you got to get a survey order, and you need all this different stuff going, right? So I think this is one of those cases where you on the negotiating too, you can use this, but you can put down earnest and things like that.
Yeah, I think that initial offer, that initial letter, that initial contract that you initially sent them, that doesn't have to be what you guys sign on that day. Like, create a more like, this is $100,000 minimum dollar
You can
deal
change your offer
that
too
you're
to
gonna
show
make.
that.
Yeah, exactly. So make a new contract, and you can adjust, like, talk with them through it. Like, I'd like 14 days due diligence for this. I just got to make sure everything works out for me. I'll put $2,000 of earnest money down held by X title company. Ask them. They're in the area too. Ask them if they have a attorney or title company that they want to work with. Make it easy on them.
I would put that on your offer too. Earnest money will be like on one of the, somewhere in your offer letter that you send them, that you will put down earnest, because that gets seller interest up.
100%. I like that a lot, actually. But earnest money is going to protect you as well as them. And they're not just going to run from the deal if they find another buyer or something like that. So that's where you kind of, like Dan said, be open-minded about it. If you've done other buy for $10,000, sell for $20,000, this isn't that. Yep. You need to be a little more customizable for it.
Yeah, it's a 6-figure profit deal. It's a high ticket profit deal. Next, we have ordering a survey and selecting a realtor. And it is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to have to call around, get survey quotes, get time quotes. You can even do this earlier than this step if you're targeting this area, just so you know when you're talking to sellers how long it's going to take. Maybe a survey only takes a week. Talk to realtors, talk to surveyors. A lot of times the land realtors will have connections with the surveyors, and you want a realtor that can list this really well and sell these properties once they're surveyed really fast, know the ins and outs, knows the surveyor. They can provide a lot of value in these project-based projects, Ron. And then you also need surveyors to make it happen. And I think just lining the two up is what this phase is about. You don't need a surveyor, though.
Yeah, one thing, do not pay a surveyor a dime before you close on the property. Like, a lot of them, some of them will try to take 50% up front. If you need to do it after the fact, some of them will not schedule with you unless you pay 50% up front. So be careful with that. Do not pay, because what if title doesn't clear or something like that? Like, the seller, it's going to be hard for a seller to run away if you have earnest money, everything like that. Yeah. But if title doesn't clear, something like that, you do not want to pay a surveyor before that, but you can have them lined up, or at least you have some names and stuff like that, where the day after you close, you can do it. Talk to realtors, like Dan said, and get you don't need a realtor, but there is an advantage of having a local realtor.
Especially with a survey, because they will know the survey, and they'll be like, oh, you want lot 7? Let's go look at lot 7.
Yeah.
And they'll take you, like, it's only on paper cut up. There's no fences.
You can get stakes, though.
There's stakes too, yeah. But it's still, the realtor's so familiar with the land. It's a higher ticket. It's not a bad idea to have survey, because they're going to go out and tour the land with these people, and they know it from the start, and they're going to be on, the back of their truck looking at land. And
you can go meet these buyers though too if you're local.
If you're local, I would 100%. I shouldn't say you won't need a realtor, but you can go meet them yourself if you choose to not use one.
Yeah,
as well. Okay, that's that. And then the last step, Ron, we have close and list the property with the realtor. So you have the survey. Gets done a week or two after. You can list it pre-survey finished.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. So when you close on the property, most of the time your survey is not going to be done. Like, I don't want your survey to be done before you close on the property, because then you're going to owe the surveyor money no matter what happens if it doesn't close. Ideally, your survey is as close to after you close as possible. But even if not, even if the survey is not going to happen for 3 or 4 weeks, you can list the property with the projected survey, the lot sizes after the survey. You can just say in the description, survey, subject to survey, and then when you get under contract with the buyers, have a price per acre. So let's say you projected it's going to be 7 acres and then it ends up being 7.2 acres or 6.9 acres. Have it be a price per acre on the sales agreement opposed to a set price.
Yeah, that's something I've been seeing. Why are we seeing that so much now?
We got burnt on one recently when someone, I don't know if they got a survey. They did.
But they pay extra if it goes over.
Correct, I believe. I mean, it matters how the contract is. There might be something where it can't go like over.
Burned.
It shouldn't. When you're getting a survey, I mean, it could go over because I remember one of them that we did. It was projected like 67 acres, and I guess the survey could bring it out to the center of the road line, and it ended up, because it was 4,000 feet of road frontage, that added like 3 or 3.5 acres. And they said technically in that county, like you get the property up to the mid spot in the road line. So there can be decent discrepancies. You can work it out with the buyer, but I don't want people waiting till the survey's done to list the property.
That makes sense.
So if you have 10 lots you're splitting into, 5 of them are 5 acres, 5 of them are 10 acres, list one 5 acre, list one 10 acre after you close, even if the survey's not done yet, and then they can pick the lot they want essentially.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the steps, Ron. Anything to add to that?
I wanted to do this episode to lay it in front of people who are interested in this stuff, and like I don't think we've ever really clearly like step 1, step 2, step 3. There's a lot of open-endedness that you can do with how you market, how you sell, if you choose a realtor or not.
Which we do intentionally.
The market you choose. Yeah, I don't want to be direct, like this is how you do it, this is how you do it. There's so many different ways in this.
Yeah, and just follow the strategies we teach in the regular episodes we do in the regular course. It's all the same stuff. How you market, how you blind offer, just change the percentage, change the texting quotes up a little bit. It's all the same.
Yeah.
It's just reaching out to landowners.
I agree. Other than that, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button below. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please share with a friend. Leave us a review on Apple, Spotify. It really helps us spread the word about all of this. Other than that, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining, guys. As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.